Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. Let me start with the world's biggest piggy bank. Grows by $285 million a day. Norway's $970 billion wealth fund has been ordered to raise its stock holdings to 70% from 60%. We don't have any views on whether the market is priced high or low, whether bonds and stocks are expensive or cheap. The decision to add stocks was made at a strategic level on a long-term expected excess return that we're willing to take risk to achieve. And Parliament has said that they wish to spend some time to phase in that increase. The fund has doubled in value over the past 5 years and is continually adding risk to its portfolio. A good situation to be in. Take a look at the Bloomberg dollar index, and I'll get to what Trump was saying, because I think he's made himself now the biggest risk, and it's not even a tail risk, it's right in front of us for the dollar. Home thoughts: as she announced her retirement from modelling, this was Iman's farewell shoot with Helmut Newton in 1989 for Vogue magazine. Real image shot from over 1.5 miles away with a very, very long lens, eclipse magic. I like this from Can-Do: sunset in Westlands this evening. Westlands is just up the road here. And then I like this as well, Totality Diamond Ring by Kelly Kemp via the Smithsonian magazine. Political reflections: Trump assailed the news in selective defense of Virginia response. Delivered an angry and forceful defense of his response to the violence in Charlottesville. Addressing thousands of supporters Tuesday evening at the Phoenix Convention Center, Trump accused major media organizations of being dishonest. And of failing to report that I spoke out forcefully against hatred and bigotry. Trump spent more than 20 minutes of a 75-minute speech delivering a selective account of his handling of the violence in Charlottesville. It's time to challenge the media, Trump said, for their role in fomenting divisions. The only people giving a platform to these hate groups is the media itself and fake news, he said. Before the speech was over, Trump had mocked the state's 2 Republican senators, threatened to shut down the government if he doesn't get his way on the border wall funding, and suggested he might pull out of the North American Free Trade Agreement. After the rally, former US Director of National Intelligence James Clapper went on CNN and said that the real Trump came through. In the speech, Clapper, who served under President Obama and has emerged as a Trump critic, questioned his fitness for office and expressed concern that he has access to the nuclear codes. Clapper said it would be up to the Republican lawmakers to step forward. Responding to chants from the crowd calling for a pardon of Arpaio, Trump demurred, saying, "I won't do it tonight because I don't want to cause any controversy. If we have to close down our government, we're building that wall," he said to cheers from the crowd. Watch Don Lemon of CNN in his reaction. It's a short video. Police fired tear gas canisters on the north side of the Phoenix Convention Center. And really, this is a complete meltdown. I wrote on the 22nd of May a piece called Apocalypse Trump. 7th of August, I spoke of how Washington has metasized into a new epicenter of global uncertainty. Global Macro, who I follow on Twitter, says short euro yen. It's a decent Trump risk hedge going into September, I think he's right, or euro sterling. McConnell in private doubts if Trump can save his presidency. The relationship between President Trump and Senator Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, has disintegrated to the point that they've not spoken to each other in weeks, and Mr. McConnell has privately expressed uncertainty that Mr. Trump will be able to salvage his administration after a series of summer crises. Angry phone calls and private bad-mouthing have devolved into open conflict, with the president threatening to oppose Republican senators across it and Mr. McConnell mobilizing to their defense. Congress must approve new spending measures and raise the statutory limit on government borrowing within weeks of reconvening, and Republicans are hoping to push through an elaborate rewrite of the federal tax code. There is scant room for legislative error on any front. In a series of tweets this month, Mr. Trump criticized Mr. McConnell publicly, then berated him in a phone call that quickly devolved into a profane shouting match. During the call, which Mr. Trump initiated on August 9 from his New Jersey golf club, the president accused Mr. McConnell of bungling the healthcare issue. He was even more animated about what he intimated was the Senate leader's refusal to protect him from investigations of Russian interference in the 2016 election, according to Republicans briefed on the conversation. Mr. McConnell has made sharper comments in private describing Mr. Trump as entirely unwilling to learn the basics of governing. While maintaining a pose of public reserve, Mr. McConnell expressed horror to advisers last week after Mr. Trump's comments, equating white supremacists in Charlottesville with protesters who rallied against them. When it comes to the Senate, there's an Article 5 understanding. An attack against one is an attack against all, said Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, who has found himself at Mr. Trump's sights many times, invoking the NATO alliance's mutual defense doctrine. Failure to do things like keeping the government open and passing a tax bill is the functional equivalent of playing Russian roulette with all the chambers loaded. I think he's going to blow up, self-implode, Mr. Hoffman said of Mr. Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if McConnell pulls back his support of Trump and tries to go it alone. Roger Stone, a Republican strategist who has advised Mr. Trump for decades, said the president needed to take a scalp in order to force cooperation from the Republican elites who have resisted his agenda. Mr. Stone urged Mr. Trump to make an example of one or more Republicans like Mr. Flake, who have refused to give full support to his administration. The president should start bumping off incumbent Republican members of Congress in primaries, Mr. Stone said. If he did that, Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan would wet their pants and the rest of the Republicans would get in line. The quickest way for him to get impeached is for Trump to knock off Jeff Flake and Dean Heller and to be faced with a Democrat-led Senate, said Billy Piper, a lobbyist and former McConnell chief of staff. So we've got an enormous fracas, and I go back to Bannon, who talked about bringing it all crashing down. And I think the problem is Trump keeps ratcheting up the price of bringing him down. Here, President Trump is seen heading to Arizona for the rally that we were talking about. McMaster apparently showed Trump 1970s photos of Afghan women in miniskirts to urge him on Afghanistan. Bloomberg is saying broadcast news shows are missing a ratings bonanza because they're not doing enough Trump. So we've got an extraordinary scenario unfolding in front of our eyes, and I think this was a spontaneous combustion in front of the world. It was reality TV at an extraordinary level. It's clearly not sustainable, but the problem is, increasingly, I feel it's going to become so much messier. Thousands commemorate the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Jawad, peace be upon him, in his holy shrine in Al-Qademiyah, Baghdad. And then an interesting piece, Living in a Void in Damascus after the Exodus. My sister, whom I haven't seen for more than 2 years, told me she was going to cross the sea in a rubber dinghy She hung up, not wanting to hear what I thought. She merely said something profound and sentimental, and entrusted her 3 children to my care in the event that she drowned. A few minutes later, I tried to call the unfamiliar Turkish number back, but the phone had been turned off. Hundreds of images from our childhood flooded my memory. It's not easy to say goodbye to half a century of your life and wait for someone you love to drown. My fingers and toes felt cold and my head empty, and I didn't feel able to argue anyway. What can one offer a woman who has lost her home and everything she owns, and not wanting to lose her children too, carried them off into exile to seek a safe place in Turkey? Things are not easy for a woman like her there. She looks like millions of other Syrian women, and does not have any special skills. All that's left is the hope of asylum, even if it requires crossing the sea in a rubber dinghy. It's as if she's trying to tell me something I know already, that the sea is Syrians' only hope. Powerful. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar 117.57. Dollar index back near that 93.50 level, 93.49. Dollar yen 109.48. Swiss franc 0.9682. The pound 128.20. The Australian dollar 0.7893. Indian rupee 64.06. South Korean won 11.29.53. The real 316.22. Egyptian pound 17.7575. South African rand 13.2269. Dollar Canada, take a look at this chart from T commodity, and there's been a phenomenal rally in the Canadian dollar, but T commodity speaking about a retracement to 128.50. Dollar index, as I've said continuously, 93.50 is the key pivot point. Euro dollar 117.57. I'll put up a 1-year chart. This is a difficult one to call right now. In point of fact, we could go as low as 114.50 before rebounding towards 120. Sterling, according to FX Street, a break below 128.30 confirms the continuation of the bearish slide. I think we're going to 125 now. Gold getting squeezed into a big decision point. This is triple leverage. Last trading 1285.42. Take a look at his chart. US crude futures settled at $47.83 a barrel, trading 47.73 right now. Copper has rallied 20% this year on the London Metal Exchange. It has been a stupendous rally in base metals. Lithium rises on electric car demand. Look at that run up. The ratio of industrial metals to precious metals nearing post-election highs. That's what I meant about this very strong rally we've seen. Let's move on to Sub-Saharan Africa. The Ministry of Defense in Russia tweeted, Army 2017 heads of military departments of Russia and Chad signed a military cooperation agreement. That's an interesting development. Skyscrapers stand unfinished as Angolan election marks new era. Ruling party candidate Lourenço expected to win on the August 23rd vote. Angola grapples with economic crisis after oil prices dropped. Around the horseshoe-shaped bay of Luanda, Angola's capital, unfinished skyscrapers stand as a testament to the challenges facing Africa's second biggest oil producer as it prepares for its first leadership change in almost 4 decades. Before the slump, hundreds of container ships waited near the palm tree-lined waterfront to offload their goods at the port. Today, only a handful of vessels are visible in the suburbs. Gated communities built for foreign workers and a middle class that never materialized are standing practically empty. Where did all the ships go, said Matthias Joachim, who owns a small restaurant in the Sambizanga slum. maze of huts on a hill overlooking the port of Luanda. If the rich are already not doing well, imagine the poor. The NPLA will win the elections, said Alex Vines. The question will be the size of the majority. In the past, investors thought they could land in Angola, shake a tree and collect the profits. Antonio Cunha, owner of Seven Cunhas, a conglomerate of companies ranging from construction firms to restaurants, said in an interview that wasn't normal. What's happening today is the normalization of the economy, he said. Look, on the 8th of May, I spoke about how reserves have been depleted from Abuja to Riyadh, from Luanda to Caracas, and in all the oil-producing capitals in the world. Earlier, August 2015, I'd been speaking about how the end is nigh for crude oil and oil producers. And they've had to adjust to a very, very slow growth economy. Angola elections mark the start of a gradual transition process. This is audio with Alex Vines. In the Angola, they call Portugal the laundromat. It's because it is. That's Ana Gomes, a Portuguese lawmaker in the European Parliament. And obviously, that refers to one of the biggest challenges in Angola, the privatization of national wealth in the name of the First Family. Sudan braced for massive floods as Nile levels hit 100-year highs. The water level touched 17.14 meters in Khartoum and is expected to rise more. Meanwhile, in Juba, a crime wave is stalking South Sudan's capital as war ruins the economy. When 3 rifle-toting men in army uniforms barged into Sylvana Pytia's supply stores this month, he became the latest victim of a crime wave that's rocking South Sudan's war-weary, hunger-stricken capital. They told me that if I didn't make them happy that night, I would visit heaven or hell. And he got robbed of $1,590 worth of South Sudanese pounds. The August 12th theft was part of a surge in crime in Juba, a city of an estimated 500,000 people, where armed robberies have claimed at least 53 lives this month and are almost twice as common as in July. Joseph Kabila's grip on the DRC right now, the Congo is at its most volatile and explosive point for 20 years. Congo Republic President reappointed the Prime Minister who resigned. Interesting piece in ISS today, can the Zambian intervention resuscitate the Commonwealth? And this is, basically the Commonwealth Secretary General, Patricia Scotland, has done tremendously well. And obviously there's an opportunity to reposition the Commonwealth, and she's done it single-handedly by sort of speaking with the Zambian protagonists, speaking with the Mozambique protagonists, and achieving some success. South African all shares up 10.62% year to date, and I think that's a record high. Aren't Johannesburg nights just stunning? Asks South Africa Tourism Board. ShopRite reported very strong results. Karen Richards, who I follow on Twitter, is asking, is there a possible breakout in the near 5-year consolidation? Take a look at the chart she's talking about. Dollar Rand 13.2269. I'm nibbling at the Rand now. President Buhari's office being renovated after rats damaged furniture and air conditioning units. Nigerian all-share index is up 37.54% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is up 36.78% this year. The Nairobi Securities Exchange, which is listed here at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, reported first half earnings per share slipped 6.25%. Operating income was up 5.925%. Total income was up 3.742%. Admin expenses outpaced income growth to grow 8.008%. Profit before tax down 6.557%. EPS down 6.25%. Total income increased by 4% from 334.3 million in the 6 months ended June 2016 to 346.8 million for the 6 months ended June 2017. This was driven mainly by an 11% increase in equity turnover, but that turnover increase happened in the second half. It's a volume game and volumes are trending higher, so I think that's a positive thing. I think they spent some money on a couple of initiatives, but if you get more volume, you're going to get more revenue, headline revenue, and you're going to dilute the admin costs. Nairobi All Share up 24.92% year to date, NSE 20 up 25.97% year to date. And as you saw, we've had a bull market across sub-Saharan Africa. South Africa at a record high, Nigeria up more than 30%, Ghana up more than 30%, Kenya just shy of being up 30%. Once again, thank you for stopping by.